Can you guess what night it is based on my ears? I wouldn't expect you to. But it is Hallows Eve, so Happy Hallows Eve. And because it's Hallows Eve, I'd like to tell you a story. It's the kind of story that I would tell around a campfire. And this amazing soy wax candle that I made some time ago is going to have to do. So make yourself comfy and get ready for a campfire story and angel style. This one is called The Skeleton Woman. And it happens every so often, actually, that a man is fishing in a lake by himself, kind of pondering life, feeling lonely, feeling like, I'm just gonna be a bachelor all on my own. Screw this love stuff, you know? It's not for me. So he's out there fishing in this lake, big pond, little lake, and it's right about this time of year. The veil is thin between the worlds. It's really kind of cold for fishing out on the lake, truth be told. But again, he's trying to shake off some kind of blues or something. So he's out there, not really necessarily trying to catch something, but just trying to process things. Know how that goes? And after some time, he casts his line in, puts a fresh worm on the hook. Worm's all cold because the water's all cold, so it's not really wiggling. But the hook goes down the water and snags on something. And it happens to snag on the bony finger of a skeleton that's been laying at the bottom of that lake, and for who knows how long. And the man takes a little tug, can tell he just, like, it's not like a nibble, he's caught on something, so he gives it a good yank, and when he yanks it, he yanks Skeleton Woman free from the mud at the bottom of the lake. And he reels it in, expecting to find like a log or a stick or something at the end of his line. And as he gets it up, he notices, oh my goodness, that looks like a skeleton hand. Oh, it's a skeleton. And he's a little freaked out, but then he can't stop himself really. He reels it in, and it's a Skeleton Woman is all tangled up. She's full of mud. She's a little bit cleaned off from the trip from the bottom of the lake up to the top. Mud's been falling off her as the fisherman's reeling her in, but she's still all tangled up. She's still got some hair on her, and it's all tangled in her finger bones. And she's been laying down there at the bottom of the lake for who knows how long. And so the fisherman has a hard time getting his hook out, so he drags the whole heaping mess onto his boat. He's got all kinds of mixed feelings. He's a little bit like freaked out, grossed out, and wants to just throw it in the lake, but he also feels like, this was a person, and there's probably a story here, and there's like this nagging curiosity to find out more, at the same time as this repulsion to turn away and to get rid of it. But his curiosity wins in the end, and so he decides to put the pile of bones, the Skeleton Woman, over on the other side of the boat, and kind of sits on one side of the boat away from her. He can tell it's a her just kind of by the long hair and the thin frame, and there's some jewelry on her, some turquoise jewelry left over on the skeleton. So he can tell not only is it her, but she was probably a well-dressed, beautiful her at some point. And so he's sitting in his boat contemplating this skeleton woman on the other side, and he's overcome with a feeling of compassion and mixed with that curiosity. He goes over and starts to try to like untangle the tangled up threads of mucky old lake hair from the finger bones, and sort of starts to slowly unravel and untangle and unwad up the bones and try to make it look more like a person, more like the beautiful woman that he imagines that the skeleton used to be. And he's just floating out there on the lake, and slowly, little by little, he untangles all of the hair and all of the bones, and gets to where he's got skeleton woman seated, looking sort of regal in a strange way, with her jewelry on, her turquoise jewelry, over on the other side of the boat. And he's admiring his work, and he's sort of just admiring, drifting around on the small lake, and gets kind of tired, so he decides to he doesn't really decide, he just sort of drifts off to sleep, and he falls into a fairly deep slumber. And while he's slumbering, the veil is thin, the sun goes down and the moon comes up, and a little spark of something comes into Skeleton Woman, and she stirs a little bit. The bones stir. Click, 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 click. And around that time, the fisherman, is in a deep slumber, and he's dreaming of a woman who was so beautiful and then lost her life. And as often happens in a dream, he's shedding a tear in his sleep, and that tear comes to the surface and rolls down his cheek, and the skeleton woman sees that tear, the glisten of the tear, and the moonlight catches the attention of this eyeless skeleton, basically, and she goes over and sniffs the tear, their bony face, skull, and tries to lick up the tear, presses her face up against the man's face, and that tear soaks into her bones and begins to grow just a little bit of flesh, just a little bit of vibrance, and she gets a little bit more life, and brushes up against the man again with her skeleton frame. And as she does that, he breathes, and she breathes in his breath and begins to put even more flesh on her bones. And for the rest of the night, Skeleton Woman lies intertwined with her skeleton body next to the man's body, and every breath that he takes, she breathes in as he exhales and puts a little more flesh, a little more flesh, a little more flesh on her bones, so that when he wakes up in the morning, she is the beautiful woman that he was dreaming about, that lost her life and became Skeleton Woman. And he is overcome, shocked, really, for starters, but also enamored and enchanted, and can't really understand what's happened, but at the same time can't bring himself to want to let her go or move away from her in any way. She's magnetic, and the two of them are drawn to each other like magnets. And They spend the rest of the next day together fishing on the boat, and then they go to town together and live out the rest of their lives that way. And it was said by the townspeople that would see them so magnetically drawn to each other that they must have been away for a very long time. No one really ever told the story of Skeleton Woman and how she was left for dead and rotted away to nothing but bones in the face of a love gone wrong, a love betrayed so long ago. Instead, they tell the story of how in love Skeleton Woman and the fisherman are and must have always been, because they obviously are drawn together and rarely even leave each other's side for a moment. And even when they do, you can almost see or feel the magnetic attraction between them. That's the story of Skeleton Woman. And when I first heard that story, which wasn't that long ago, I'm wishing I had my singing bowl out here. It's in the other room. I did not prepare very well. I'm an aspiring storyteller, you might be able to tell, and my mentor, my favorite living storyteller, who I've never had the pleasure of meeting yet, tells that story in a recording, and I listened to it recently, a version of it. And like all stories, it's a living story. It lives through us. So that was my first version of it that I wanted to tell to you, because it's Hallows Eve. The veils are thin. And because I'm thinking a lot about love, and really that's a story about how we sometimes hide our love away. We sometimes let it die even and turn to just bones. But it's never too late to revive it. And if we take the time to be curious enough to untangle the mess, clean things up, put things right, then we can enjoy that magnetic, magic, moonlit love once again. Can you hear there's children out there? It's that time of the night where trick-or-treaters are out. There's not that many, but I did buy some emergency candy, so I'm going to go mind the door for trick-or-treaters. Meow. I hope you've enjoyed this, what is the first official episode of my Storytelling with Aunt Angel endeavors. Let me know what you think, and subscribe in case you want to hear more. I got a lot of stuff going on this channel. You'll never know what you'll get. Whenever I find something that's interesting enough to pull apart and put on its own, then I have some other channels for that. But this is really where I beta test all of it and document all of it, my own journey and evolution. So thank you for being you and letting me be me, and you're welcome. Stay curious and courageous, and I'll be seeing you soon.